John Spence, I can't believe I've got John Spence with me today. If you can't tell how excited I am and how joyful and how gleeful, and I got to tell you, my hands are a little bit sweaty because I'm a little nervous because you're kind of a big deal. Welcome, welcome, welcome. John, in your own words, who is John Spence?
After that buildup, he's just some guy, some guy. Uh, it's funny, a guy that never really wanted to be in leadership or in business per se, and I just took a really crazy turn in my first job, and here I am, almost 40 years later, 38 years later, fairly heavy into the business world and the leadership world.
Barely. Just a little bit. Just a little tiny toe is in that. Toe is in that. So your career trajectory is incredible. You experienced becoming a CEO at the age of 26. Oh my goodness, that's no small feat in itself. How did your journey begin and like what lit that spark? What started it all for you? Did you grow up thinking you wanted to be a plumber?
No, I grew up thinking I wanted to be a photographer.
Really?
And I have a very wealthy family that lived in Miami, Florida. And I went to a top prep school in the country, graduated there, got accepted to a lot of different universities, and I chose the University of Miami because it
Yep.
was close to the beach and my girlfriend. And about 2 semesters in, my photography professor said, "You're not going to be a pro at this. You're you just don't have the eye. You're good, but you're not going to make it in this field. So you're going to have to try something else." Long story made bearable, I ended up failing out of the University of Miami, which was bad because my father's one of the top alumni ever to graduate there, and there's a building named after my family. So I had to restart college, and through some twists and turns, ended up graduating number 4 in the country in public relations and marketing.
Amazing.
Not exactly what I was headed towards. Got hired by the Rockefellers, and then, as you mentioned, through a twist of fate, at 26, got named CEO of one of their foundations. I was doing projects in 20 countries around the world. And the spark was two things. One is when I failed out, I knew that no one was going to fix it for me. That my
Mhm.
parents weren't going to fix it. My friends weren't going to. I mean, I had a 1.6 GPA. All my friends had lower. Everybody around me was failing. And that was the first spark. I realized if things were going to get turned around, I would have to do it.
Yeah.
Uh, and then when I started the Rockefeller Foundation and I became CEO early, Mr. Rockefeller assigned his right-hand man to me, a guy named Charlie Owen. And Charlie would do two things. Every Monday he would put a book on my desk, a business book. And on Friday, I had to make a book report. Go to lunch with him, and he would grill me and ask me questions. And then he asked a question I think that was life changing, business life changing for me, which is, all right, now that you've understood that, what are three specific things you're going to do as a result of reading that book? So he was the one that first tied the idea of turning ideas into action. It's not
Mhm.
enough just to learn, but you have to actually take it and apply it in the real world. So for 6 years, I got a book every Monday and had to make a book report every Friday. And then he did something else. He would bring me into big meetings, huge, huge deals. And he'd just sit there and take notes. And then afterwards, he would grill me. What did they do right? What did they do wrong? What would you have done differently? More than I could get in any MBA. So he was a big life changer as well.
Fantastic. What an incredible privilege.
I
He
worked
saw something in you. Wow.
I was lucky that he did. And he had a son about my age. And I think he took me under his wing. And, I think kids don't always listen to their parents. And I had to listen to him. I was kind of working for him. And I think he decided, I got lucky. And we remained friends for years after I left the foundation. And had always been an influence on my life. But
Mhm.
yeah, I got very, very lucky. He was the right-hand man to a billionaire,
Yep.
who was sort of his lawyer, his accountant, his guide and advisor.
Hmm.
So all the wisdom he'd learned from doing that, he tried to pass down to me.
Incredible. Incredible. What was your mindset like going into CEOship at 26? Did you face like did you face everything we all face? Imposter syndrome, what am I doing here? Oh my God, what happens if I screw up?
Yeah, I had a world record level of imposter syndrome. And
Really?
there was two things I would worry about almost every evening.
Hmm.
One was, what are they going to figure out? I have no idea what I'm doing. And then number two is I would lay awake and think about all the kids I had to put through college. And I don't have kids. All
Mm,
the families that worked for me,
yeah.
and there were mortgages and car payments and kids to put through college and all that stuff. And I knew it was my responsibility to run the organization well so that I could take care of them and they could take care of their families. So the responsibility hit me pretty hard. I do a fair amount of executive coaching, and
Hmm.
I just coached a COO that stepped into the CEO position. And I
Hmm.
said, that chair's a lot different, man. It's a lot. Oh, okay. But he called me about 3 months later. He goes, this is totally different. Like the level of responsibility is exponential.
Yes. I want to pull the pin a little bit on that because it just sparked something in me, and I want to see if you have the same experience. And so, we're a little bit more seasoned in our careers, and I know that both you and I get the privilege of speaking to the young guns out of just coming out of university, commencements and whatnot. I always find it interesting when people come up to me afterwards and say, "Oh, I just want to be a leader." I'm like, oh, you need to come and sit down with me. You need to tell me why. What do you think it is? And sometimes I get these bright eye and bushy tails. Oh, you get to travel and you get to go golfing every day and you get to go to all these events. And I'm thinking, oh, we need to sit down much longer than that. I think that we have not done a really good job imparting the responsibilities that come with the title. What are your thoughts on that?
I just wrote a blog on this that leadership is not position or title, it's a responsibility, it's an honor. And
Yes.
one of the things you try to share is it's not about you.
Nope.
It's servant leadership. It's not me at the top going, this is what I want you to do. It's the leader at the bottom going, what can I do to help you? And realize that your job in life is to make everyone else that works with you as successful as possible. Because if they are, the business will
Or
be successful and you'll be successful.
yeah.
So this thing of, you get to play golf and travel. Like, no, it's the other way around. You spend the entire day, your entire life taking the best care you possibly can of people.
Hmm.
And if you love it, you're going to have other hobbies and stuff, but you'll love your business so much that you're having fun every day and you love the people you work with. And you heard the word I use, love.
Yeah.
I just turned 61 this year. So I'm in the latter stages of my career. And, we had talked before we went on about legacy. I've decided that the stake I'm going to put in the ground for the rest of my career is about loving your employees, being a leader who loves their people. And not romantic love, but moral love. And moral love
Yeah.
is around honesty and integrity and doing what's best for the people that are with you and genuinely caring about them
Hmm.
as an individual. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be their best friend or their therapist. You also have to love them enough to hold them accountable.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
was with a client who said something beautiful the other day. He said, yeah, there's a difference between being kind and being polite. Polite is not holding, oh, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And wow, this report isn't quite what I was hoping it would be. That's not kind. If
No.
you love someone enough, being kind is saying, we need to do a little bit better here. And
Hmm.
this isn't quite what I was expecting. Let's sit down and talk through and clarify the expectations and let me help you to help yourself to get better.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan for creating that kind of a relationship with your team. My whole belief is if I lift up people and help them be more successful in their life, they're going to be better with their family. The
Yes.
community is going to benefit. And through a circular, win-win-win, the business will be just fine. That's the way I've always looked at it.
Yes. I think that people over-index on the empathetic side and forget that clear is kind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I got a question for you. Like, instead of working for others, choosing to work for yourself, being recognized, like, this is why my palms get sweaty, but being recognized as one of the top 100 business thought leaders in America and a finalist for the Thinkers 50. Oh my God. That the Breakthrough Idea Award. Oh, I mean, talk about the brass ring.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
it's the truth. It's everything I aspire to. Look out. You're setting a great pace and a great tone of what we should all aspire to. What made you choose to go out and on your own and really breathe more life into John Spence as an
Uh,
organization?
I'll tell you that, and then I'll tell you a quick fun story about the Thinkers 50.
Yeah.
So, what, ask the question, the first one again, what breathed life into,
No,
oh,
so
me deciding to go out on my own.
instead of
Uh,
choosing to work for others, because
yeah,
it's not like you did not have a plum resume.
yeah.
What made you decide? Because it's different.
Yeah, when I was at the foundation, my job started to become very political. Not political within the organization, but I was going back and forth to Washington, D.C., testifying before Congress, doing all this stuff. And I got up there and nobody told the truth. They would look right in your face and lie to you. And honesty is my highest value.
Hmm.
So that's why I left the foundation. It's not because I didn't love my job and love the people I work with. I just got tired of going to DC and having my heart crushed.
Hmm.
And there was a gentleman that when I was at the foundation said, if you ever want to leave, you call me. I want you to be the CEO of my company. And it was an international sales training and strategy firm. So I went there, and after about a year, I realized that he had a real problem with the truth too.
Ah.
And I said, if I'm going to be surrounded by people who don't embrace the idea of telling the truth, I know I will. So I'll start my own business, and I will go out and find the people. I've got a saying. I was talking to my partners in New Zealand. I wouldn't work with you if I wouldn't work for you. And
Mm.
that's a pretty high bar. So what sparked me was I couldn't handle the people I was around that weren't telling the truth. It was just so offensive to me. Now, the quick story, when I went out on my own, I looked around and said, if I'm going to do this, be a consultant, a professional speaker, all that stuff, who's the number one person in the world? And at the time I was doing it, it was Tom Peters.
Hmm.
He had written In Search of Excellence and on and on and on. So I looked at him and said, then what I'll do is I created a list of everything Tom Peters did to become the best in the world at what he did. And I just started checking stuff off that list. And I figured if I checked everything off the list, eventually I'd be doing pretty good. So I ended up on a plane ride with him to Singapore, sitting next to each other in first class. And I had flown across the country to listen to him give speeches. I read everything he'd ever written. And I said, I'm not going to bother you, Mr. Peters. I want to let you know I'm a big fan. We chatted for a little while. And then finally he said, so what do you do? I said, something like you do. I do professional speaking, keynotes, blah, blah, blah. He
Hmm.
said, what's your goal? I go to replace you.
Yes.
And he did what you just did. He laughed at
Yes.
me. And when I was at Thinkers 50, I was selected in that top 8 for the award.
Yeah.
Sitting next to me at my table was who?
No
Tom
shit.
Peters getting his Lifetime Achievement Award. And I leaned over and told him about the story about Singapore. He goes, you did it. You caught me. I'm like, yeah, pretty close. You know, I'm
Oh
sitting at
my.
the table with you for the top 8 in the world, so I guess I'm doing okay. And he signed a bunch of first edition books for me and everything. And he wrote in one of them, you caught me. Congratulations.
Oh my
So now,
God.
and the reason I say this to your listeners is I just looked at it and said, all right, what does it take to be among the best in the world? What
Yeah.
are all the things I would have to do? Write books, all the stuff. And I created checklists and I just said, great, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to do everything on this checklist. And if I do, then the outcome should be where I want to be.
Jesus. And you blushed a little bit when I called you a rock star. Come on. Oh my God, that's amazing. I got a question for you about honesty. I'm a big fan of that, and I'm a big fan of integrity and standing in integrity, even when you're wrong.
Mhm.
Standing in integrity, always raising the bar, always striving for more. Outside of politics, because I think lying
Mhm.
is easy in politics.
Yep.
Why do you think people struggle? Like fundamentally, you've worked with so many different people, so many different countries, so many different experiences and environments, and there's a common thread with honesty. Why do you think people, leaders, have a hard time with honesty? Do you think that do you think that it's more, I don't want to hurt, so it's I don't want to damage someone else. Do you think it's more of that altruistic, I don't want to hurt somebody? Is it that they don't like the conflict? They don't know how to deal with the conflict? Because honesty does create conflict. What do you think fundamentally we need to change or we can have as a takeaway to help build a more honest and honest, anchored in integrity environment?
I think what drives it is fear.
Ah,
The
tell me
fear of,
more about that.
yeah, the fear of looking vulnerable, the fear of saying you don't know, the fear of admitting that the situation isn't what you wanted it to be. You know, talking about things that you're uncomfortable, sort of some of the things, but I think all of it, I mean, I think all stress and pressure backs down to fear, the fear
Hmm.
of looking stupid,
Yeah.
the fear of not being enough. So I'm going to
Hmm.
exaggerate or make things up to make myself look bigger.
Hmm.
So I think the idea is, and what we just kind of hit on a note is imposter syndrome is a big driver. Every CEO I coach has imposter syndrome. And they go, really? You know, does everybody else? I'm like, yeah, everybody. I said, I still do.
Everybody. Nobody gets a hall pass in imposter
No,
syndrome.
no.
Oh,
Someone go, hey, will you write
honey.
the forward to my book? I'm like, why me?
Yeah.
Like when I wrote my first book, I'm like, I'm not smart enough to do this. No one wants to read what I, because, I'm obviously a fanatic reader, and I looked up to authors as like, these people are really good at what they do. And I'm not on that level at all.
Yeah.
So all of us have that. And so that's the fear of looking like you don't know what you're doing, the fear of not having that conversation. It all gets back, at least in my belief, my opinion,
Yeah.
at some fear that you can't overcome. So you tell people what you think they want to hear or
Hmm.
what you think will impress them, or you don't want to hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people go out and say they want to be a liar. They
No.
want to shade the
No.
truth. Yeah,
No.
it's pressure and fear, in my opinion.
Yeah, so interesting. So interesting. I want to understand some of the early influences that really shaped your thinking and your decision to really anchor yourself and champion yourself in the concept of simplicity in leadership. I'd love to unpack that a bit with you. So if you could kind of give us like the precursor, the layup on what built the championing behind the simplicity? What is simplicity in leadership?
I've built my entire career on this idea, pattern recognition.
Mhm.
And I think simplicity is cutting through the noise and understanding the pattern.
Mhm.
Uh, I read about since 1989, I've been reading about 100, 120 business books a year. And people ask me, like, how many business leadership books have you read? I'm like, two or 300. Doesn't it get redundant? And I'm like, absolutely. And it's great
Mhm.
because now I understand the pattern. I can take
Mhm.
5,000 pages and boil it down to here's the five things that or six things that roughly every one of them says.
Yep.
Then you just teach the pattern.
Yes.
Like strategy.
Yes.
Strategy can be extremely complex. There's a lot of tools you can use, but when you boil it down, there's only a handful of things that truly drive strategy. And if you can get those things right, a lot of the other stuff falls into place.
Yes. I love that. I love that. So then it, walk through the there's six of the strategies. Six, yes.
Well, I've created a couple new frameworks.
Oh, good. Tell me
Yeah,
about
and
them.
I think the one because you're well known for strategy, I'd like to share with you, and we
Yes.
could talk about it. It'd be a blast. And very few people have seen these. I have a hard time remembering them,
Oh,
but
yes.
I don't even know how many there are. So we'll go through them and I'll remember them.
Yeah.
The first one to create a world-class company, in my
Yep.
opinion,
Yep.
to build it. The first one is purpose-driven leadership.
Okay. What does it
That
mean to you? I think that those are big words, and some people banter them around. Purpose-driven leadership, but I don't think they really know or connect to what that means. So, from your experience, what does that mean?
okay, I can explain it to you through two stories.
Yeah.
People are super engaged when they believe in what they're doing.
Uh-huh.
That it's more, it's something meaningful and important. It's something bigger than a paycheck. So one of my clients owns a company that builds gearboxes, not particularly sexy, but they build them for oil rigs, giant air conditioning units on the top of, major buildings. They also build them for nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers.
Very
And they
cool.
bought a company that made gearboxes for military helicopters.
Okay.
And my friend took over as CEO of that company, and I went to the first meeting where he was going to introduce himself to all the employees, about 400 employees. Big hangar, folding plastic chairs, big hangar where they, work on the helicopters and stuff. And he introduces himself. He said, "Before I speak, though, I'd like our number one customer in the world to say something with you." And a general walks out onto the platform and covered in medals, getting scrambled eggs. I mean, just super high level. He stands at the podium and he looks around the room, looks at everybody, makes eye contact, then pauses, says, "Both of my boys fly helicopters in Iraq. Don't kill my boys." And then he walked off the stage. Do you think those people make gearboxes anymore? Hell no. They bring young American soldiers home to their families. They bring young men and women back to their husbands and wives and moms and dads and brothers and sisters. I mean, it still gives me goosebumps when I tell that story. So I have another friend that owns a prosthetics company, and they make legs, prosthetic legs, and they call it crutch in, walk out. Someone will come in with only one leg. They will custom fit him, get it all right, get their gait right and everything. And then they go, "Hey, let's walk around the office and let everybody see this." So the person with the brand new leg that came in with only one leg walks through, and the person in the shipping room sees a person who says that, and someone from accounting and someone else says, "That person wasn't walking when they came in here. Now they have two legs and they're going to walk out the front door. And I helped make that happen." So here's my belief: every organization on the face of the earth at some level has a noble purpose. Some are
Mhm.
bigger, like a hospital or, fire department or something like that. But even the most mundane companies, we make gearboxes, can be tied to a noble purpose. And when I say purpose-driven leadership is I believe that you should be able to tie a direct line from every employee to something truly meaningful and important.
I love that. I'm a big proponent of that. It's never about what you do, it's about how you make people feel
Yep.
in every single aspect of your life. It never matters about what you do. It's
No,
how you make
no.
people feel.
So
Wow.
number two is people-centered culture.
Yeah.
That we just talked about this a little bit, but I'm a big fan for hire talented people, take amazing care of them, get out of their way, and everything will be good. I've looked at it in most organizations, culture is the place with the highest possibility for improvement and success or driving a company into the ground.
And
I
quickly.
use a
And
phrase called
quickly.
culture equals cash.
Culture equals cash. I love that. It's so true.
And it's amazing that I struggle with some people I work with, but other things that just don't think about their people much. I've got a manufacturer I've done coaching with. They have 12 locations, 12, where they sell stuff. And four of them are on the way home from his office to his house. And I said, "How often do you visit him?" He goes, "Once a year for an hour." I'm like, "Dude, it should be every damn week.
Yeah.
Bring donuts, get flowers for the,
Bring your
the
dog.
reception room,
Yeah.
swing by, ask them about their kids, get to know them." He's like, "Why?" I was like, "Let me help you understand something. You want to improve your business? You do that, get to know all of them personally, talk about your purpose, the things you do. Your business will explode.
Hmm.
Whereas a toxic culture will drive all your best people out ASAP.
And keep all the dead ones.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, they'll, the single biggest reason that people leave companies, about 80%, 79%, is they don't quit the money, the hours, the work, the load. They quit their immediate supervisor leader or
Because of
quit the
how
leader of
they
the
made
org.
them feel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The new Gallup, International Gallup thing on engagement just came out, and this is so sad. Only 21% of employees around the world are engaged. 21, which means 79%
Right.
are disengaged or actively disengaged. If you could move your engagement points up, and I'm not saying every company's at 21%. I work with some great companies that are 70, 80, 90.
Hmm.
But if your company's struggling, if you could just get your culture up at 4, 5, 6, 10 points, that'll go right to the bottom line at some level.
Yes, 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 it does, because that's what fuels performance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Have
we
you?
have purpose-driven leadership,
Yeah.
people first culture. Next one is customer-centric strategy.
Ooh. Okay. The extreme customer focus
Yep.
and keeping the customer at the center. I get that. I love that. You can tell I've been drinking your Kool-Aid for a while. Like I'm a fangirl. I'm a fangirl. Okay, tell me this in your experience. So yes, we all subscribe to the customer focus. When have you seen organizations that index too far and worry so much about the customer, they forget about the business, or they think that, if we treat our customers well, then we don't need to be a sales organization. We just simply just need to treat our customers well, and everything's going to be fine.
It's not quite the way it works.
Yeah.
So it's not typically the road to massive success. I'm saying customer-centric strategy, but the one for it is people first culture.
Yes.
So when you look at it, your people are actually more important than your customers. If you're a leader,
Yes.
your number one customer is your employees.
Because they are your customers.
Yeah, they're your number one because if you don't take care of them, I've got all these phrases. You know this, Allison. The customer's experience will never exceed the employee's experience.
Mhm.
So customer-centric strategy is, and here we go with phrases. Man, I'm out of control with phrases today. Whoever owns the voice of the customer owns the marketplace.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean you're totally obsessed with everything every client says, but
Hmm.
again, you look at patterns. If
Hmm.
we're talking to enough customers, if we're interacting with them, if we created relationships, we've got enough information that we
Yeah.
can track what they're doing, then I can use that to come back and inform my strategy. We could go off in 100 directions around this, but one of the things I advise some of my clients to do is create a customer. I did this for one client. Create a customer panel of your 6, 8 most important customers. And this was a company that $200 million landscaping company,
Okay.
and about 40 million of their 200 million came from about a dozen clients. And they're expanding, but the clients were, yeah, like Disney World was a client. And I said, why don't we create a customer panel of your biggest clients and bring them in and let's ask them just a couple questions.
Hmm.
And we had them a panel. We had the entire company in the room, all the employees in a big ballroom, and a panel with a couple of their, key customers. Every and microphones up there, and I asked them this question: Why specifically do you do? And I turned around and said, "Do business with these folks? What are the top 3 or 4 reasons?"
Hmm.
All of them spoke. It was roughly the same 4 reasons. And I
Really?
turned to my client and said, "That's your marketing plan. That's your strategy. That's your brand. If I figure if these people spend 20, 30 million dollars a year with you for roughly the same reasons, I'm thinking that's probably why other people spend money with you." So,
Yes.
and
That's your differentiator. That's your double down.
bingo, got
Yes.
it. And the way you do that though is by going to the people, in my opinion, that spend a lot of money with you and ask them why, and they will tell you, and then you turn around and go, "Well, that's pretty easy.
There you go.
4 things we need to focus on."
Yes. And do it really, really, really well.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's
Execute.
funny because that's the next one.
Yes.
The next
Oh,
one is focused innovation. Yeah, so you're
oh,
brilliant.
focused
I'm a
innovation.
fanboy, so uh,
Okay,
the next
before
one
you
is
get into
focused innovation.
can
Is
I ask you
figure
a
out what you
question?
do really, really, really well and get
Yep.
better and better and better at that.
Yes. Oh my
You know,
God, yes. Oh my
yeah,
God,
you've
yes.
seen so many companies, shiny red ball, squirrel, pivot, pivot, pivot. I hate the
Totally.
word pivot
Yes.
unless the market demands it. If
Yes.
your customers, by listening to them and talking to them, they're going in a different direction or a new competitor comes in or technology, whatever, that's a good reason to pivot. But other than that, figure out what you do well and just constantly innovate and get better and better and better at that. And that's what differentiates you in the key areas where your customers want you to be.
Oh, I love this so much. I want to pick your brain a little bit on innovation. Somewhere along the lines, and I don't know if this is just my thinking, but now I know it's your thinking too, so I'm on the right side because it's what you think. Why do you think some people, some leaders in business think that innovation means they've got to go and get this new, bright, shiny, no one's ever heard of it. We're now going to sell shoes in a car company. Versus what I see innovation is getting deeper into what's working and especially what's not and refining that. So to me, innovation is more about continuous improvement than a complete pivot into something else that's this big, shiny squirrel that makes no sense, but it's sexy. Why do
Yeah,
you think we've somehow lost this sort of understanding of oh, you've just got to be more innovative. And people think when they take that feedback away, oh, I've got to go create something new. It's got to be this thing that no one's ever heard of before. And then it becomes such a distraction to business.
I think a couple of reasons. It's boring to do the same thing better. You know, and this is what I see in entrepreneurship. I'm a visionary. I
Yeah.
see the future.
Yeah.
I can create things that didn't exist and new companies and new this and new horizons. I've got one client, I've done their strategy for 9 years. I think we haven't made any changes to it. Just tweak it to get a little bit better, a little bit better. They're number one in their industry in the world. They have the highest profit margin. And they've just hired me to do it again. I'm like, you sure? Because not much is going to change. And they're like, no, we'll come and spend a day with you. Maybe something will change. But I go to them and say, you guys understand this.
Yeah.
You're in your industry, you're the best of the best, and it's because you figured out what your customers want, and they are constantly innovating and improving there.
Yeah.
But does that sound exciting, to the outside? You've been doing the same damn thing for 9 years?
Mhm.
Not really. They're always trying new stuff, but it's all focused on what do we do well and what do our customers want. And you can always test a few things and have a
Sure.
skunk works, a small project,
Yeah.
but taking the whole battleship and turning it another direction because you saw some cool thing that you think would be interesting to do, that's not typically what drives a world-class company.
I have a couple of clients that change strategy more than I change cars, which is saying a lot. And we're not just talking a little tiny pivot. It's like, okay, we're all going in this direction. And 18 months later, we don't like that direction anymore. Okay, everybody, we're going in this direction. And we're going to do
Yeah,
it for 18 months. Well, and now that didn't work. So we're not going to go back to center. So we're going to go back in this direction for 18 months.
yeah, I see that a lot. And because of that, there's, one of I've got one more thing to share with you in the framework.
Hmm.
But years ago, we'll get to it in a minute. Years ago, I attended a conference of bankruptcy lawyers.
Okay. Oh, that
Yeah,
would have
fun
been
people.
so great.
But it was in the Cayman Islands, and it took me a while to figure out why we were in the Cayman Islands because that's one of the offshore havens.
It is.
But it was also very pretty. But I sat through their meetings, and on the last day, they had a panel of some of the top bankruptcy lawyers in the world. I raised the hand. You're going to let my hand when it opened for Q&A. And I said, what's the pattern? And they went, what? I go, what's the thing you see over and over and over again that causes companies to go into bankruptcy? And we'll see if I can remember this. The first one was ignorance, not paying attention to the marketplace, not listening to their customers, not doing competitive research. So they just weren't paying attention. The next one was indifference. We don't think we have to change. We're number one in the world. We've been doing this for 20 years. We set the standard, so we don't need any change at all. The third one was inflexibility. We know we need to change, but we can't get our people to change.
Mm.
We've always done it here. Business as usual. They resist change. But the fourth one is the one you and I are talking about, which is inconsistency, that we change so much,
Yeah.
we never get any traction.
No.
You can't get traction on a strategy in 18 months if it's brand new and in a new direction. I don't know what your number would be, but I say in 18 months, you've got very little impact. 24 months, you could start to look up a little bit. At 3 years, things are starting to really you're
Yeah.
getting traction. And at
Yep.
5 years, you're probably doing. Now,
Pretty
there's
good.
going to be some detours along the way, but
Yep.
if you're changing strategy every 18 months, 24 months, you never get, in my opinion, never getting a chance to get any traction and move forward.
Well, there's no learning and you don't allow the incubation. You've got to test it. Practice, test, practice, test, 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 learn, learn, learn. Little tweaks, little tweaks, little tweaks. I think that the luxury of working with smaller businesses, with smaller workforce, they have less corporate tentacles sometimes.
Yeah.
So that window can close. We can see when it comes to strategic mapping, we can see impact fairly
hmm
quickly because the right decisions are made and the right impact points. But as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, trying to maneuver the Titanic, so to speak,
Yeah.
you have to allow it to stay its course.
That leads perfectly into the last part of the framework, operational simplicity, which is it's
Oh,
all about remove all the friction for execution. Every
yeah.
stupid rule, every level, you have to get an approval. Make your operation as simple and frictionless as possible so you can execute at the highest level of
Mhm.
efficiency. So this has been fun because you've been one step ahead of me, which is really cool. So let's go. It was purpose-driven leadership,
Yep,
people-first culture,
yep,
customer-centric strategy,
yep.
focused innovation, and operational simplicity.
Yes, yes, I love all of it. Tell me where. We know that the true rubber hits the road for all of us when it comes to the difference between design, discovery, and then deploy. So the deployment is the execution arm of it. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, during the last recession in America,
Yeah,
I watched very carefully why companies were struggling or failing.
yeah.
And I saw three things.
Mm.
And this fits perfectly in with what you do. Number one was lack of a vivid, compelling, and well communicated vision and strategy for growth. The
Yes.
senior team might kind of know where they want to go, but they didn't communicate it down, or there was no clear vision or strategy because there was so much uncertainty. And I see that obviously right now.
Mhm.
Number two was lack of courageous communications. That
Mhm.
everybody knew there were problems and layoffs were probably coming, and we lost a couple of big clients, but nobody was comfortable putting that out. They just hoped things would go away, and I'm sure you say this to your clients: hope is not a strategy. And then the third one, which is now probably one of the biggest ones, was lack of disciplined execution and accountability.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I see this organization, they have a good strategy.
Yep.
Well, actually, I've been teaching at Wharton now for about 24 years at a very, very senior level conference for senior executives in the financial industry. My classes normally have about 100 people in them.
Okay.
And over years, I've asked the same question. What percentage of companies that have a good strategy, have a good plan, have good people, have a good product service, all that stuff, what percentage of them effectively executes their plan?
Globally?
Allison?
Global,
What?
globally? Like, are we
Well,
talking,
these are all US based companies. No, they're
would it
global
be a
companies
US
now that I
response?
think about it.
Would it
What?
be a US response?
What would be the US response?
The truth?
Yeah.
Less than we think.
It started off 20 years ago at about 15%.
Hmm.
Now it's down to about 8%. And these are all senior level executives in major global companies, but they're all the US directors. They're like, if we get lucky, we'll execute maybe 10% of our strategy. And I
Jesus,
know.
John, Jesus. That's like I was thinking, okay, so in my experience, I'm biased and I'm skewed because our approach to strategy is unique because we come with strategy and implementation. So like we walk alongside that organization for a long time, especially from mix like calibrating the people to the strategy in order to drive performance. So we tend to see better results than that, but I did not think eight.
Well, don't
I would have
forget,
said,
ties back exactly what you said.
yeah.
These are companies with massive corporate tentacles,
Yeah. Oh,
unbelievable,
yeah.
unbelievable levels of decision
Blood
making and
sheets, blood.
bureaucracy and red tape, and so it's just they can't get stuff moving. I don't know that, I do a lot of work at the Fortune 100 level, but I really enjoy being in companies with 500 employees or less because people like you and I can make a difference. It's
Hmm.
hard for me. Like when I worked for Microsoft or Apple, I said I could basically do backflips and light myself on fire and nothing would happen. But if you get to a company with 500 employees, maybe a $100 million company, you can have a huge impact.
Yes.
Because there's not that many. Those at that level execute probably 60 or 70%,
Yes.
60%, maybe
Yes.
higher. The
Yes.
good ones are at 70 or 80%. This discrepancy there is one where we can do all the things we just talked about, but
Yep.
you've got operational simplicity, speed, agility, things like that. They can
Yep.
move quick, make decisions quick. And with help, they can execute very effectively.
Hmm.
What's the average size company you work with?
Oh, I'm all over the place. I like to play a little bit in startup, scale up, and enterprise. I
Yeah.
learn so much more from my clients than my clients would ever be able to learn from our experience together. I find that startups are more challenging because I find they don't have the stamina.
Explain that to me. I don't understand.
They need the quick wins.
Oh, okay.
And so they over index on pivoting.
Yeah,
This isn't
we were
working, let's
just saying.
go. This
Yeah.
isn't working, let's go. And they're driven by fear. I'm going to use your words because they've sunk every single thing into their business, their family, their
Yeah.
children's university educations. And so they're so worried about not making a go out of it. They don't trust themselves
Hmm.
to allow the germination to happen. And now I also get that, we deal in a sense of urgency. So if we're not producing high impact, high value, we've got to go in there and change that right away. So that's kind of my experience with startups. Scale ups understand the value of matching frequency, urgency, rigor with discipline in terms of a process. So
Hmm.
this is where we're going. We got freedom within that framework, but by God, 2 years, we're going down this. We're going to learn a lot, but we're going to invest in this. And then sort of the enterprise, I find that, I think it's the tipping point. When you come to more than 5,000 employees,
Yep.
the sludge in the corporations are really hard, and you're fighting an uphill battle to make any change because it's very a process-driven organization.
Hmm.
And sometimes when you're a heavily process-driven organization, the process drives the business instead of the business driving the business.
Bingo. Bingo.
Uh,
Yeah. So the ones that were low are 100,000 employees, the one people that I had in that room,
Jesus.
80, 100,
Jesus.
150,000. You can understand why they would execute that low because
Yeah.
it's literally 15, 20, 25 layers of decision makers.
Hmm. Yeah. Snip, 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 snip. Doesn't need it. Doesn't need it. I want to touch, can we go one layer deeper? Can we go to like the individual and the team? Because
Sure.
I want to pick your brain on this. We know that. I like to say this, but we know that
Mhm.
most teams aren't short on talent. I feel they're just stuck. Most
Mhm.
teams. They're good people, all trying to work together, but they're just stuck. So, John, when you walk into a room and you walk into amazing rooms all over the world, when you walk into a room where high performance lags or you see it lagging,
Mhm.
what's the first thing you look for?
I look for a couple things. A, purpose. Do you
Okay.
understand why you're here?
Yep.
Your team, if you're a high performance team in a company, you have something important to do here.
Hmm.
You're one of the small groups that's going to make a difference. And let's talk mostly about group companies of 5,000 or less. If
Sure.
you're a high performance team in that level, you are doing some really important work. So tying it to the purpose. The other one, and you've seen John Cotter's change model 1,000 times, is a
I'm a
sense of
big fan.
urgency. Yeah.
Big
A
fan.
yeah. Oh, me too. And I've turned it a little bit in my experience. I think the first and most important thing, and he kind of says this, is creating what I call an irresistible case for change,
Yes.
which is you have no option. Like
Yeah.
I did a podcast earlier today actually about AI, and they said, why do you see people resisting it? I go, here's the deal. The CEO and the senior management team needs to say, we're using AI whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
This will be part of your job. It is a strategy in the company. And
Yes.
if
It's
you
a
don't like
tool.
the
Yes.
idea of that, this is probably not the right place for you to be
Hmm.
because we are going to start using it. If you
Hmm.
close the door like that, people
Hmm.
have to move in the right direction. That's got to be tied together though with a vision of the exciting future we can create. It's
Yep.
not just you can't do this anymore. It's You can't do this anymore because we're moving in this really cool direction. We've got a vision for what AI will do for our company. And again,
Yes.
we're balancing it out of this is still a long-term vision. This isn't a pivot. It's we're going to use a new technology to focused innovation, come back and do what we do really, really well, but we're going to do more efficiently, more effectively, and
Yep.
help people understand that AI isn't here to replace you. It's here to help you.
Mhm.
There are, in my opinion, four levels of AI or how it helps you.
Mm.
Level one is data, just gives you
Yes.
numbers,
Hmm.
data.
Hmm.
The next one is information, and that's where it starts to organize it, like into an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. The next level is knowledge, where it starts to give you answers, ideas, feedback, suggestions. But the last level is wisdom, and only humans could do wisdom work.
Yes.
So I try to help my clients understand there's a big difference between knowledge work and wisdom work. Knowledge work, and if you're an employee, we're going to try to remove everything off your plate that is information, data or information, use it to get it to knowledge, and then you take the knowledge and take it to wisdom. I
Yeah.
could print out, you and I both do strategy. I could print out using AI, which I do, analysis that used to take me a full week, I could do in 4 hours now. And unbelievable stuff.
Okay.
But if I
Oh.
gave that to one of my associates
Hmm.
and said, here, go run a strategy meeting,
No.
if they haven't done 50 or 100 like you had, it's just stuff on a
Words.
page.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's
So it's
right.
our
Oh.
experience where I can take it and turn it into not just what is, kind of like Charlie taught me, not
Yep.
just what is it, but what can you do with it? And
Yeah.
that's the jump from knowledge to wisdom.
Because we put the emotion in it, what it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like. Oh, I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, I want to geek out with you a little bit on AI, and then I want to go and touch on some lessons from the global stage that you have had. So I love AI. I use it as a research partner. I use it as a way I talk to it. I tell it
Mhm.
exactly what I'm thinking and feeling, and we actually have conversations. And I
Mhm.
love the conversations because the way what I ask it to push me, it pushes me and makes me think really outside of the box. And when I disagree with it, it gives me data to show to tell me where I'm wrong.
Exactly. Yeah.
Allison, if you're thinking about it this way, and here's this, and by the way, here's this paper, and I'm just like, oh, you're such a smarty pants. But thank you. You just made me better.
Well, it's a thinking partner at the highest possible
It
level.
is. Do you
It's
talk to
having
it?
someone sit next to you that has access to basically all the information on the face of the earth,
Yeah.
and can
Crazy.
give you, and like we said, it can give you knowledge, a
Yeah.
lot of data, information, and knowledge, more than I've ever had. I thought when it first came out, it was going to impact my business very negatively. I thought,
Yeah.
all this stuff I've taken 30 years to learn, you could just ask it questions and it's
Like
going to
that.
give you the answers.
Yep.
But then back to what we learned, I'm the one with the knowledge and the expertise. And we
Yes.
go back, I'm the one like you, pattern recognition.
Yep.
I've done, 100 of these. I see the information and the data and the knowledge. Now I'm the one that can take it and turn it into something useful. So I'm
And
a massive fan of AI. It's totally, I could not do my job.
without
I
it.
couldn't imagine going back and doing my job the way it was 5 years ago. And you know that ChatGPT has only been available to the general public since March of last year, 2024.
Is that
That's
really
March 14th, 2024. I teach a class on the future of business at
incredible?
Wharton, and I went back and asked it, and it said when it was first publicly available. Now
Huh.
ChatGPT had been around for years, years,
Yes.
but when it got out of beta and just Sue, Bob, Allison, or John could get it, that
Yep.
was only about a year and a half ago.
Incredible. Incredible. I love that. I
Can
love
you
that.
imagine what it's going to be like in 5 or 10 years?
And I think it's only going to be better. But I think that the biggest thing is that people, the friction is that people they're either people that see it as an asset or they see it as an antagonist. So it's going to replace me. But if you use it as a tool, because that's what it is, the leveling up that you can do and the output that you can do and the level of thinking that it will make you ascribe to. Some people are like, no, it's going to replace our jobs and it's going to replace our thinking. Some it might for efficiency purposes. But where the human element comes in is in that wisdom, but also at the end of the day, it's humans that need to close the knowing doing gap.
Exactly.
So we all know what to do. We all just, some of us don't close the gap and do the things that we need to do. But that's where
hmm
we come in to help close that knowing doing gap. And that's what AI helps us as well. We help translate that.
On our team, you know, a couple of months ago, people were sort of afraid to tell me they used AI to put stuff together.
Okay.
And I said, "Did you use AI?" Yeah, I used AI. I go, great,
Yeah.
great.
Did you learn
Hey,
about
why
it?
don't you create a custom GPT to speed this up even better?
Yep.
And let's, like the guy that does my social media, who's awesome. Like, don't sit up all night trying to create a schedule. Just go in and tell it, act as an expert on LinkedIn, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. But
Do this
give me
for me.
five
Do this for
schedules. Then
me.
you figure out what works best for me and our brand.
Yep.
But don't waste time on that. So now we have all these custom chat GPTs we've built for our clients and different things we do where we all have access to them. I'm like, guys, gals, use this stuff. It's
Yeah.
really, really helpful.
Oh, even this. So I know that you definitely do. I know it because if I do, you certainly do, and way more at a way higher level than me. So I always get little zings from Academia EU. They're the ones that track all the time, every single time that you've been uh, named in a publication in a publication.
Mhm.
And sometimes I would, over in a month, get like 30 publications, and I'd have to read all these papers because I might be cited in one little tiny thing, but I'd have to read everything to be like, oh, I don't know why you did that. Or like, what are you talking about? Why are you using my name? Now I just throw it into my good friend ChatGPT and I ask it, like, this is what I want. This is what I need you to do. This is sort of my interpretation. This is what I want you to extrapolate. Help me shape a story so that I better understand what are people saying? What are the key takeaways outside of what I said? And it takes, oh, 18, 19 hours of me reading, and it
Mhm.
condenses it down to 4.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel so much more smarter.
I dedicate a minimum of an hour every day, every morning at breakfast, reading industry, Harvard Business Review, Forbes, Fortune, Inc., and all that stuff. And every now and then I'll pull up an article that's 20-minute read.
Yep.
It's like from the Gallup report was 77 pages.
Yeah, distill
I'm
this.
not reading 77 pages.
Hmm.
I put it in and they go, please give me a high level overview, blah, 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 blah. It gave me that. And I said, all right, let's look deeper into number three. I'm
Yep.
really interested on that piece of data. Let's
Yes.
go deeper now. And I didn't have to read 77 pages. There was a bunch of stuff in there that I was not interested in at all. So I
Yep.
do that with all large articles now. I'll load the
Brilliant.
PDF first and say, give me an overview of what's in this. And I'll look at the overview. I'm not interested in that. Don't waste my time reading that article.
Yeah.
Or, whoa, that's good. Then I'll go read the whole article.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Let's spend a little bit of time talking about lessons from your global stage because oh my God, you have worked with leaders again, like not like me. You go the gauntlet from startups all the way to Fortune 100 companies around
hmm
the globe. And if we want to talk about patterns, what is the one universal truth that you've discovered about leadership? What's that one pattern that you see? What's that one universal truth?
You have to be a living example of your values.
Oh, you know what mine is?
What?
I say this all the time. If I could take a needle and a red thread and just sew us all together, all over the world, the one thing that binds us all together is that we want to feel like we belong.
hmm Yep. Want to feel like you belong.
Yeah,
Integrity. I'll tell you something interesting. I do teach a class on self-development. It's not a motivational, inspirational class. It's creating a strategy for your life.
yeah.
And one of the things I ask people to do is very briefly, a couple of sentences or shorter, maybe one sentence. What is the purpose of your life? Why are you here?
Mm.
Why were you put on the face of the earth?
Can I ask you that question of yourself? Because you probably asked that for yourself. Do you know why?
I know exactly what mine is.
Tell me, because I know
Well,
why too.
mine's sell businesses and people be more successful. But here's what I'll tell you. I've had 250,000 people go through that class in my life.
Oh my God, John.
Not every single person without exception around the world has the same basic answer.
Uh-huh.
Help other people, serve other
Um,
people.
uh-huh.
Yep, make a difference in other people's lives. And I have never, ever had anyone say anything that wasn't related to
That,
help other people, serve other people. So that's there. You want a universal thing too. People want to belong. And
yep,
part of that is people want to help people.
of
They
course.
want to do everything they can to make others' lives better.
Yeah. So when I started to unpack that type of work in the same modality, I did that on myself because of course I don't take any tool for a spin unless I take it on myself first because I've
Yep.
got to understand it. But through that work, I discovered that the reason why I exist, my DNA, the little cosmos that I'm here on this planet, is that I am a fulfillment junkie. I am here to seek and give fulfillment in others. So when other people win, oh my, it's like a high. I love it. And so I now, and that's all I do is I chase fulfillment.
Well, does that sound like helping other people?
Indeed it does, my friend. Indeed
Yeah.
it does. I knew you'd get a kick out of that. I knew
Yeah.
you'd get a kick out of that. Okay,
Yeah.
let me ask you this. Thank you. I thought it was really cool. And people are like, what does that mean? Have you met me? What, in your opinion, do the best organizations, regardless of geography, get right?
Culture.
Why do you think it's so hard to get right?
You can try to design it, but at some level, it's amorphous. It's how people believe, it's their assumptions, it's what they think. I read a Harvard article on great leaders are great storytellers. I'm like, I'm not a storyteller. And I realized almost everything I do is tell stories. And it's the stories and the things about the company and the lore that's passed down. So the reason, especially in smaller companies, if you've got a company of 10,000 people and there's 10 or 12 that are really disengaged, it's not a big deal. If you've got a company of 100 employees or 300 employees and 10 are disengaged, that's a major part of your workforce.
Mhm.
So I think that in smaller companies, and when I look at the best of the best, it's always around having a culture of engagement, culture where people pursue excellence, where they take pride in the work they do, they take pride in their relationships and what they do larger than the company. And
Yeah,
it's so easy to see, Allison. I'll go into a meeting. I just did this not too long ago of a senior team of a company. It's about 20 people. And as soon as they're all hugging each other and laughing, how you do, and they hadn't seen each other, and they only get together as a full team. It's a global company twice a year,
yeah.
and they're hugging. And I also go in other places where people come in, sit down, open their computer, and don't talk to anybody. So I know in the first 30, not 30 seconds, minute and a half, whether they've got a good culture or a toxic culture.
Oh, yeah, because nonverbal cues scream louder than any language you could speak.
Yep, yep.
Yes, yes. And again, you've had this just an incredible life that you've designed and the experiences that you've been able to curate, in this career that you have. What's a surprising lesson that you have taken away from like the global leaders?
Oh, from the global leaders,
Hmm.
the ones that are really good think long term. They're strategic thinkers.
Hmm.
And they're reflective. Wow, there's the big thing. They're thoughtful. They keep a
Hmm.
journal. They reflect. They not only when something goes wrong do they take the time to dissect it and think about it, but when something goes right. When I coach executives, oftentimes I'll say you need to set aside 15 minutes at the end of every day to just sit and think about how the day go, what's going
Yep.
on, are we on strategy, are the numbers where we need to be? How did I treat my folks today?
Yep.
Did I, praise a couple people? Was I my best self when I was in that meeting? And I would say on Fridays or Mondays, you need to take at least 30 minutes to do nothing but think that through. What do you think the answer is from all of them? I don't have time.
You do have
And
time. It's a choice.
yeah, well, I tell them if you don't have time to do that, then you're doing something wrong in your business because as a CEO,
Mhm.
you should have plenty of time to reflect and think and be strategic and think about how to impact the culture and your customers. So the best CEOs I've met with are very thoughtful.
Mhm.
They care deeply about their people. They're long-term thinkers and they have integrity. They live their values every day.
So important. So important. What keeps you learning? And considering we're now into 2025 and we're in our almost fourth month. So now you're
Hmm.
into how many books? What are you reading or listening to right now? What keeps you learning?
Well, what keeps me learning, I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I'm 61 now. When I
Mhm.
turned 58, I created a phrase. I now realize I know almost nothing about very little and nothing about almost everything else.
Amen.
Yeah, I have
Amen.
an area of expertise that's tiny. I happen to be very, very, very good in that tiny little area. Everything else, it's just a big, I have no idea. So the stuff that I'm really focused on right now is Adam Grant's work
Okay.
around expertise.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a great new book called Hidden Potential.
Mm.
Unbelievable. And it runs
Okay.
counter to some of the things you would think about what makes someone world class. Like one
Yeah.
of the biggest takeaways I had about that, he was talking about world class musicians.
Yep.
And he said the difference between what they're the same coming up, and then at one thing, one group stalls and they
Yep.
never make it above that. The
Yep.
other group continues to go up and up. He said the difference is the group that stalls says, I have to go practice. The group that stays goes, I get to go practice. Big, huge, huge takeaway. The other thing
You.
I learned in that book that was huge, big takeaway, he said, don't ask for feedback, ask for advice. If you ask for feedback, people will tell you what they think you did wrong, or they'll
Yes.
be very, very polite. But if you ask for advice, they're going to go as
Yes.
far as they can to help you because people want to
Yes.
be helpful.
Yeah.
You see, to get a totally different answer. And then one of the other things I was talking to someone yesterday about this is he asked for advice, but he only goes to people that he respects and admires in that area.
Hmm.
So he mentioned professional speaking. If I give a talk, I don't ask everybody to rate me and give me advice. I go to the speakers that are the best in the world and say, what would you give me on a scale of 1 to 10? And a seven? What advice do you have then to get me to an eight or a nine or a
Yeah.
10?
Yeah. What
That's
would
a
make me
whole
better?
different way to look at things.
Hmm. Do you think, though, that again, we go back to that fear? Do you think that some people are afraid to look someone in the eye and say, help me get better?
Oh, you know, I I did a TED talk on this years ago, and they asked me to teach the most important thing I've ever learned. That's a fairly high bar to get over.
You're like, where do I
And
start?
yeah, and I learned this from my one of my college professors. After I'd failed out, I met a college professor who this what I'm about to say to you has turned my whole life around.
Okay.
He heard me saying that I had to do better in college, and he said, "Come to my office afterwards. I'll tell you exactly how to get straight A's in college." I went there.
Yep.
So he said there's only three things. Number one, read the books. He said at
Hmm.
least in university, 99% of the answers are in the books. Bring this up to today, all of the answers aren't in the books for you and I, but the information to get to the answers is in books and YouTube videos and podcasts and on and on. So number one was read the books. Number two, he said, ask for help.
Yes.
Ask everybody in sight for help. Ask the professors, the teaching assistants, go to the career office, ask all the other kids, whatever. And people are afraid to ask for help. When I asked for a lot of help, guess what I got? A lot of help.
Yes.
And, and then the last one he said is start study groups.
Hmm.
So I would stand up at class at the beginning of every semester, go, hi, I'm John. I really want to do well in this class. I'm going to have a study group at my house Tuesdays, Thursdays nights. We'll study from 7 to 10, then go out and get a beer together.
Love it.
Anyone's welcome to be in my study group as long as you have straight A's. As long as you have the highest GPA we can get here is a 4.0.
Yeah.
So if you have a 3.6 or higher, you're in the group.
Love it.
And nobody asked me my GPA because I started the group. And it eventually went to 4.0. But
I love it.
we studied together. We went to class together. It started as a group of about 20, then 15, then 12, got down to six of us.
Hmm.
Six of us studied together, worked together. We graduated numbers 1 through 6 from the university.
It's because you grinded it
Our
out.
baby. Yeah, and
Grinded it
here's
out.
why.
Yeah.
College gave me, I had 5 people helping me. You read chapters 1 through 10, you read, 6 through 11. Fast forward, it's basically a mastermind group.
Yep.
And fast forward today, I still have a mastermind group, a study group. of about 15 CEOs. We meet every 45 days. We have book reports. We help each other. We challenge each other.
I love that.
I'm going to boil that all down to the most important thing I've ever learned. Number two is ask for help.
Hmm.
Don't be afraid. Be excited. And because when you ask for help, people want to help you. They
Yeah.
really do.
Hmm.
And usually if you're fighting or struggling, you don't ask for help. And finally you come up and ask for help. What do your friends say? What took you so long?
That's right.
But the most important thing is you become what you focus on and like the people you surround yourself with.
Hmm.
Whatever you read, whatever you study, whatever you fill your mind with, and whoever you choose to spend your time with directly determines your life a decade from now.
So true.
Period.
So
That's
true.
it.
Yep.
Dead stop.
Yep. Yeah. Because we are the architects of our own lives.
Absolutely.
Everything is a choice.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. So good. Okay, what's coming next in your work or in your thinking? What's next on the John Spence world?
Well, I'm using AI to
Good.
help me create new frameworks, like the new strategy framework. It's very similar to the one I've been teaching for 25 years.
Yeah.
It's just purpose driven wasn't quite in mine and a few other things. My
Yeah.
old framework was talent plus culture plus extreme customer focus multiplied by disciplined execution.
Yeah.
All of that is in the new framework,
Yeah.
just a little bit more sophisticated.
Yeah.
So I'm building new frameworks. I put that stake in the ground around love and empathy and care and concern as a leader,
Hmm.
and really focused on the people first type of leadership.
Hmm.
And other than that, I'm still enjoying doing major speeches. I've got a speech next week to 5,000 people. Largest group I've ever spoken to is 26,000. Ah!
Oh my God.
For those that are listening, I still get nervous when I talk to 10 people.
Yes.
I did a little talk the other day. I think there was 18 college students. I'm sweating, I'm shaking, I got dry mouth. It's just as scary for me.
Hmm.
I'm highly introverted. Being in front of people is scary for me. 18 people or literally 18,000, I
Yes.
still get nervous at both.
I have to
So
go pee all the time before I go on stage. I'm like, oh my God, can you just wait a minute? I think I have to go pee. Okay, no, I'm fine. Oh my God, I think, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm not ready. Oh, let me just go to the bathroom.
the
And then I
worst
come
is in
back.
when you're in the middle of a giant all-day workshop and you're like, I got to go to the bathroom. So all I do is go, hey, why don't we let's do a short workshop. I'd like everybody to write this down. We'll take about 15 minutes to do this individual workshop or group workshop. And everybody looks down at the workshop and I run and run back like I haven't been anywhere. Magic. He just reappeared on the stage. But yeah, so many people are afraid of public speaking. I want to let them know that some of us that do it for a living,
Yeah.
we're scared of it too. It's
Yes.
hard.
Yes.
I
Oh,
think you know this when you get to the point that you're not nervous or scared,
something's
that
wrong.
means you don't care anymore.
Yeah. And you should. Something stuck with me, and this is years and years and years ago. And I forget who wrote about it afterwards, but there was a study, and I'll have to find the study. There was a study that was written around the difference between the feelings of excitement and being scared. And it was birthed out of an Olympics, a Winter Olympics, and all the reporters kept on going up to all the athletes saying, are you scared? Are you scared? Are you scared? Are you nervous? Right? This is the biggest moment of your life. And the pattern of response was always, no, we're trained to be excited. I'm
Yeah.
not nervous. I'm excited. And even though that you're nervous and excitement, everything that happens when you're nervous and excitement in your body, it's exactly the same thing. But
Hmm.
it's training your brain to see it for what it is. Are you really afraid or are you excited?
Yeah.
And how you
When I give
frame
major speeches, I'm not nervous. I'm not afraid. I'm excited for
yeah,
the opportunity to share and help people.
yes.
One of the things I do, I'll look out from behind the curtain and look out and go, I'm just going to give these people as much love as I humanly can. I'm going to try
Mhm,
as hard as I possibly can to help them. I'm
mhm.
not going to waste a minute of their time. And I'm shaking and nervous, shaking and sweating stuff, but it's not nerves. It's just excitement of, let me go help. I want to make sure I do a good job and help as many people as possible.
Yes.
So,
And I think that's a beautiful anchor, which is when you go to speak, whether or not it's into an audience of one or to 100,000, to really look at, are you afraid, like mortal death, Or
Hmm.
are you really excited because you just want to do a really good job?
Yep.
And if that's what it really is, then to live in that and enjoy that feeling. I love it. I love it. Oh my God. And that, my fabulous friends, is John Spence. I can't believe I just spent an hour with you. This is a dream come true.
Oh, stop it. Thank you.
Fangirl
Thank you.
moment. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm gonna have you back.
I'll come back anytime you want.
Yes. Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh,
But
Justin.
listen to your customer. If nobody listens to this, 5 likes. Maybe you and I might enjoy this, but maybe people listen. Now, I'm sure we gave a lot of good nuggets today, both of us.
We did. Thank you so much for today. It's such a privilege. Such a privilege. Thank you.
It's my honor. Thank you.